Any attempt to break Kupyansk and Pokrovsk encirclement is a suicidal mission. It is a journey of no return. I just don't understand why Ukrainian commanders refuse to acknowledge the fact. Now, some of the videos from the front lines, when I see them, as a human being, I become sad. These are ordinary human beings. Some of them have families, they have kids, they have wives. Why will you throw them to a meat grinder? It is absolutely impossible to break the encirclement. Why is this difficult for the Ukrainian commanders or Ukrainian authorities to understand? Now, watch this video of Ukrainian troops trying to break the encirclement in Kupyansk. It failed. And well, the Russians decided to hunt them down. It's sad. The video you're about to watch.
Kill them.
Well, this is sad. So when the attempt failed, they were even carrying a wounded soldier, and boom, they destroyed all of them. You see why this war is taking longer? Because of drones. Drones has become a major problem. Even evacuating the wounded from the front line has become a major challenge because of these drones. So those who know nothing about war can sit in their comfort of their homes and talk nonsense. Putin has given Ukraine many opportunities to lay down their arms, but they refuse and continue to fight. And they go in, they don't come back. Now the Ukrainians have gotten to a point whereby they are even abandoning their soldiers on the front. A young Ukrainian soldier came out today and he was crying. He was like, there is no reinforcement, there's no rotation of troops. And I know some people might say it's a propaganda video, but even the mainstream media has reported this many times. The real situation on the front line today is there is lack of troops, so rotating troops has become a major problem even for the Ukrainian armed forces. And I have said it repeatedly that I don't see any difference between the Ukrainian armed forces today and the Nazis back in Second World War. The same tactics is being used here. Remember at the point when the Nazis were struggling, there were no enough soldiers to even rotate them on the front line. Only in between November 1942 to January 1943, Stalin wrote a lot of letters to Hitler asking the Wehrmacht to surrender, the Swiss army to surrender in Stalingrad. He wrote a lot of letters, and the response were all the same. The response were all the same. Hitler said the Swiss army refused to surrender and they will continue to fight. And we all know what happened to the Swiss army back in Stalingrad. It got to a point, food to eat was even difficult for these soldiers. Some of them were killing their donkeys to eat, some were killing dogs just to survive, some were burning books for heat. And the same situation today is happening in Ukraine. Watch this young guy crying. In fact, he spoke with a lot of passion. By the way, note, he spoke in the Ukrainian language, so it is likely that you guys wouldn't understand what he's saying. But some might understand. But I just want you to look at his reaction. His reaction is the most important thing. Just watch.
Доброго ранку із Донеччини. Емоції, які мене вже не будуть стримуватися, простіть. Але коли ти дивишся, коли я їжджу в Константиновку і смотриш кожен день згорівші машини, коли я їду на евакуацію, коли стоять хлопці, я їх забираю, вони сидять у мене в машині, грязні, мені видно, що їхні глаза були такі красні в сльозах. І задаєш, я їм нічого не задаю вопрос, никакой, але вижу у них просто, та, знаєте, як очагах он уже погас. І їм больно. І просто там на трасі без машини, бо згоріла машина, попадання, вони як могли збереглися, я їх забираю, якщо вони там стоять. Де, ну, і інші. І смотриш на них, і ти розумієш, що у цих хлопцях вже немає надії на те, щоб перемогти. А знаєте чого? Бо ми всі сидимо, нічого не робимо. Да, я не кажу за всіх, але більшість людей. Смотриш, вони просто, немає на чому воювати, на чому їхати, нема ні ребів, нічого нема. Русські заїжджають на техніки, на всьому, наші хлопці сидуть пішки. Пішки, бо нема на чому їхати.
If you enjoy my contents, hit on the like button. This will help the platform to grow. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let me remind you guys again. Kupyansk is currently under the control of Russia. Now, Kupyansk and Pokrovsk is not just the target. I've said this before. Russia is targeting the whole of the Donbas region. So taking Kupyansk and Pokrovsk will open a corridor for them to be in a better artillery position to fire, and eventually they will take the whole of Pokrovsk. That is what the Russians are targeting. Now somebody asked me, if Russia is really liberating these cities, why are they destroying them? Now the video you just watched, that is the city of Kupyansk. And you can see how the city is destroyed completely. That is war. And the Russians have a history of destroying their own cities. They've done this multiple times. They rebuild back the city after they take it. In Mariupol, remember the fight in Mariupol, right? Mariupol was also destroyed the same way. Today, I want you to go back and check the city of Mariupol. The Russians have built Mariupol to be one of the best cities today in the whole of Ukraine. You can check it out. Look at Crimea. The war went on in Crimea. A lot of properties were destroyed. But after the war, the Russians rebuilt Crimea and made it one of the best cities across Europe. So this is who they are. These guys have a history of destroying their own cities. Look at Stalingrad. They brought it down completely. After the war, they rebuilt it. Look at Chechnya. They did the same thing. So this is how these guys fight. And that is why smart leaders always try to avoid war on their territory. They always do everything possible to make sure that these wars are not fought in their own country. And that is why Putin decided to go first. By the way, if you don't know, we call something preemptive strike. Before the Russians attacked Ukraine, they sent a letter to the UN with a lot of evidence that Ukraine was trying to attack Russia. That is one part of this war that they don't talk about. They always say, oh, this is an unprovoked war. Nothing happened and Russia decided to attack Ukraine. That is not true. Are you aware that the Ukrainians amassed a lot of troops and they were trying to attack Crimea? They were trying to take back Crimea. So we call it preemptive strike. This is accepted in even UN. If a different country is trying to attack you, you have the right to attack that country first. It is not against the rules of law. And Russia did prove it to the United Nations. This is what they don't want to talk about. They make it look like the Ukrainians were on their own. They did nothing wrong. And Putin, because he's wicked, just got up one day and decided to send in troops to go in and fight Ukraine. That is not true. Remember a day even before Putin even attacked Ukraine, Putin went to China to discuss this whole issue with Xi Jinping. So yesterday, Viktor Orban also visited the Kremlin. He met with Vladimir Putin. They discussed about a lot of things. We still don't know everything. We just know some one or two things. They spoke about energy security. You know, Hungary rely on Russian energy, right? Hungary is a long country. I've spoken about it in the past. I'm not going to go deep into it. Even the sanctions that Donald Trump sanctioned European countries that they shouldn't be buying oil and gas from Russia, Hungary was exempted because Hungary have no option. Viktor Orban has said a countless number of times that it's just a matter of common sense. They cannot abandon buying Russian oil because there is no sea for you to ship in any oil for them. So they wouldn't put the interest of Ukraine first, then leave their own people behind. Now, this visit I don't know why a lot of European leaders are angry. I don't get it. Especially men's. That Germany guy, I don't know. He's the most anti-Russian guy I've ever seen among all European leaders. I was asking myself, why does this guy hate Russia so much? Till George Galloway gave the reason. Now, this is not according to me. This is according to George Galloway. I watched one of his programs and he said, men's father was a very close partner of Hitler. So, men's father was part of the Nazis who attempted to take Russia and failed. Finally, this explains to me why this men's guy hates Russia so much. What is your problem? So this explains everything. His father failed to defeat Russia and he has also failed to defeat Russia. And that is why this guy constantly is always attacking Russia any given time or any given opportunity. He'll criticize Russia. This explains why. I now understand why. Now, the Wall Street Journal also posted an article claiming that Western European or EU leaders are afraid of being left out of the new world. Today, we can see the rise of new powers in the world, and the European economy or European influence is currently collapsing completely. Now, the Wall Street Journal quoted the Trump and Putin negotiation plan. The peace deal, they decided to leave out Europe, meaning Europe have no influence. Basically, they are trying to say that Europe is no more a superpower, which should be in world affairs. I mean, basically, that is what the Wall Street Journal is trying to say. And they also quoted the recent trade deal between China and America. Once again, Europe was excluded out of the deal. Western Europe is currently a declining empire. The next superpower or the next continent to take over is Asia. I'm an African and I really wish Africa would take over. But currently, there's nothing that shows Africa is going to take over. Some people continue to criticize me. Why do you talk about Europe? Why don't you talk about Africa? Why don't you talk about Africa? Look, I don't hate Africa. In fact, I'm one of the few people who drew many people attention to what was happening in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger in the Sahel. I promoted Captain Ibrahim Traore. I'm one of the people who promoted him so much when he took over power. A lot of people were not aware what was even happening in Burkina Faso. Remember on TikTok, I was getting millions of views. And a lot of people were sending me messages, Timo, you open our eyes. Because of you, we now understand what is happening. But you see, one thing I've realized is, when you are creating solely African content, sometimes there's nothing to talk about. And I continue to see a lot of channels inventing stories. Things that has not even happened. For example, about Captain Ibrahim Traore, every day I know channels that talk about Traore. Sometimes some of the stories, they create them themselves just to, at least upload video every day. And I don't want to be in that position. Many people trust this channel. And I want to keep that reputation going. I don't want to destroy this channel with concocted stories. Most of the things you see happening on the continent of Africa here is going nowhere. A lot of people are actually not talking about the Guinea incident. Look, it's going nowhere. It's absolutely a waste of time and energy for me to come and sit here on camera and waste my data for nothing. Remember the Guinea-Conakry coup d'etat when Doumbouya took over from Alpha Condé? Some of us created videos day and night praising the army. How did it end? Later we all realized that this Doumbouya guy is controlled 100% by the same colonial master we thought that Doumbouya was going to fight against. Remember the Gabon coup d'etat, right? Some of us created videos day and night. How did it end? Absolutely nothing. In Ivory Coast, the Ivory Coast election, I didn't even waste my time to talk about it. The same colonial puppet has taken over. Alassane Ouattara. It's not going to make any difference. So if you're asking me why don't I talk about the Cameroon elections, Paul Biya, the same guy, over 92 years, he has been in power for more than 40 years, and the guy is still ruling the country. The same colonial masters control the game. The colonial master change tactics all the time. Most of these coup d'etats are orchestrated by them. They realize that the youth of Africa want change. And they are using a different strategy. They are kicking out these old men and they are bringing in young guys. And most of these young guys are not there to serve me and you, our interests. These same guys are controlled by the superpowers up there. The only genuine coup d'etat or the only revolution I see happening on the continent of Africa is in the Sahel. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, that's all. Traoré, Assami Goïta, and Chani, that's all. That's all. Look in Uganda, this Bobby Wine guy who is busy, trying to paint Museveni black. Yes, look, I don't support Museveni. That guy, I want him out of power. But clearly you can see that this young guy that we all think is going to be the savior of Uganda, clearly this guy is also sponsored and controlled by the same colonial masters up there. So if this guy take over, don't think he's going to make a big difference in Uganda. Nothing is going to change. That is a fact. In fact, I really want Africa to change. But currently, when you look at the geopolitical game across the world, Africa is not part. In fact, I wish the future is Africa. We have the youngest population, we have everything, but I don't see Africa becoming the next Europe or the next China in recent years. That's the fact. You are the main reason why I continue to create these videos every blessed day. Because I know some of you are always waiting for me to drop a video every evening. So some of you come to this page in the evening just to check whether I have dropped a new video or not. If you are part of those guys, just type yes in the comment section. If you come here every day to check whether I've dropped a new video or not, just type yes in the comment section. I really appreciate each and every one of you, your endless support. Shalom. See you guys in the next episode.